Hey everybody, this is Randy Brown for Cameo Man and Blogging with Mr. Brown. And today we're going to talk about a topic very near and dear to my heart. And that topic is how to avoid the depression spiral. All right. Now you might ask yourself, what is the depression spiral? Well, the depression spiral is basically this. There's certain things when you get into a funk, when you get into a bad mood, there's certain things that you can lift that can lift your mood, and there's certain things that can degrade your mood, and you want to avoid those things at all possible. And I've got a few things I want to talk about, and I'm going to go over them right now. So, the first thing that will cause you to go into a spiral of depression is violent movies. Okay. Now, the thing about violent movies, one time one of my friends was just depressed, and I go, well, what are you watching right now? And I'm not going to name names, but he was watching one of those super violent, super gory movies like Saw, Hostel, Cabin Fever, Human Centipede. And here's the thing, you can't watch movies like that where people are being tortured, people are screaming and crying and being violent and violently maiming people. You can't watch movies like that and then expect to be happy and think positive thoughts and be positive all the time. You can't do it. It's impossible. I mean, you will not be happy if you are watching movies like that because they put bad thoughts in your mind. They'll give you nightmares, number one. They'll give you sick and twisted thoughts and ideas. And if you want to live a happy and blessed life, you really need to cut out the violent movies. I mean, a little violence is okay, like, The Dark Knight or Iron Man, where it's violent, but it's still kind of like, upbeat and, has a good positive vibe, like Batman Begins was a very violent movie, but it had some positive themes, like justice and sacrifice, and it's not what you do. I mean, it's not who you are on the inside, but what you do that matters. So, yeah, but if you really want to live a happy and blessed life, cut out the sick, twisted, violent movies like Saw and Spiral and Jigsaw and Hostel. Cut all those movies out because those are not going to make you happy. They're not going to make you a positive person. And then, second up is sad and depressing songs. Sad and depressing songs are just as bad as violent movies, and here's why. Because, I mean, a lot of sad songs are anchors, and they will put you back in the depressed state quicker than anything. Like, as a matter of fact, in my car, in my mom's car, which is our car, in our car, I have outlawed negative music. I've outlawed sad music. I've outlawed depressing songs because I'll tell you a fact about me. During 2011, 2012, I was the most depressed I've ever been in my life. 2011 and 2012 were bad years for me. Bad, bad years. And why were they bad years? Well, number one, I sat around listening to sad songs all day, feeling sorry for myself. I sat around listening to songs that reminded me of my old ex girlfriend. I sat around listening to songs that are about and thinking about killing myself. And I was never suicidal, but I thought about it. But yeah, sad songs, and I know some sad songs can make a person cry like that. So what you want to do is you want to get rid of all the sad music in your life. All the sad songs that bring you down, that put you in a funk, that put you in a bad mood, do not listen to those because those will send you careening down a depression spiral. All right, and you don't want to do that. If you want to be happy, you need to cut out the sad songs. You need to cut out the depressing songs. A lot of Adele stuff. I like Adele. She's great. She's a great person, but a lot of her songs are like, oh, I'm so sad. I feel bad for myself. My boyfriends are evil. Everything he craps on me. So don't do it. X out sad music from your life. All right. Now, a lot of these tips, I'm giving you the bad stuff first, and then give you the good stuff later because I like to end on the good stuff. The next thing up that will send you into a spiral is asking unanswerable questions. And this is in your head, asking yourself unanswerable questions like, why is my life such a wreck? Why am I such a failure? Why is God doing this to me? Why am I so depressed? Why am I sad all the time? How come nobody likes me? A lot of those questions are why questions, like why does nobody like me? And here's the thing about why questions. Most why questions are incredibly bad because they assume that the question is valid when in actuality it's really not. Like a lot of people ask me. A lot of people ask themselves, why doesn't anybody like me? Well, that's not true. Your mom likes you, your brother likes you, your friends like you. It's not true to say nobody likes you and they're like, why am I so depressed? Well, you're asking a lousy question. The Bible says, ask and you shall receive. And if you're asking why nobody likes you, well, you're going to receive an answer to why nobody likes you. Your brain is going to give you that answer, even though that question is not valid. It's going to say, well, because you're a schmuck, because you're too fat, because people hate you, And the question is not valid, and therefore the answers you get are not valid. But in your mind, you will presuppose and assume that those questions are true when in fact they're not. And I'm going to tell you which questions are better questions in a little bit. What are good questions to ask yourself, but I'm going to keep on trucking. So the next thing on the list is asking immediate answers from God. Now, a lot of people pray to God. They yell and they rant and rave and complain and curse at Him and get mad at Him. And they ask, why are you doing this to me, God? Why? Why? Why can't I have a girlfriend? Why can't I do this? Why can't I get a real job? Why can't I do that? Why can't I do this? And here's the thing. Number one, you are not going to get immediate answers from God. All right? No matter how hard you rant and rave and rail and scream and yell, God's not going to come down from heaven and go, Randy, this is the reason why you don't have a girlfriend. If you think about it, even Jesus didn't get a direct response from God. When Jesus was at his worst, he was nailed to a cross, he was bleeding, they were sticking vinegar in his wounds, and Jesus straight up asked God, why hast thou forsaken me? Did God answer Jesus right then and there? No, he didn't. He stayed silent. He did not answer Jesus at all. He didn't say, just hold on, son, 3 more hours of pain and you'll be in paradise. You're doing great. I love you. Just, you got to pay the price for mankind, so just hang in there. No. God didn't even do that to his own firstborn son. So if God didn't answer Jesus, what makes you think God is going to answer you right now, right away, in this very moment? He's not going to do it. Hasn't done it for me, hasn't done it for you. And there are people who claim they've talked with God. And some of the people I know claim God talks to them. And a lot of these people that say, oh, God is actually talking to me, a lot of the people that I know are actually pretty nutty. A lot of these people are weirdos. Because, if God is talking directly to you in an audible tone, you're probably a weirdo. You're probably nuts or crazy. There was this one comedian I know that said, "Oh, God told me to get out of comedy," and I was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, God doesn't like obscene jesting," and then about a year or two later, he's wearing a shirt with a hand that's flipping people off, saying "F you woke people," and it's like, is that obscene? Yes. Is that jesting? Yes, but God didn't tell him jack crap about that. So, so anyways, you're not going to get a direct answer from God. There's even actually a Bible verse that says, this wicked, deceitful generation hopes for a sign. Well, the only sign that I'll give it is the sign of Jonah, which means you'd be reborn in 3 days. Jonah was in the whale's mouth for 3 days, came out. That was a metaphor for Jesus, being on the cross for 3 days, or his death for 3 days. But, anyways, you're not going to get a direct answer from God. You're not. So, quit screaming, quit ranting, quit raving, quit crying. He's not going to answer you. And if anything, this video is his answer. Okay. And then next up, this is a big one, and it's a bad one because it seems like you're doing good at first, but this is actually very bad. And the next thing up is setting vague goals. All right. Setting vague goals is worse than setting no goals at all. And what are some vague goals? Getting into shape, getting a better job, stop being depressed, be happy all time, stop fighting with my spouse, and then another one I'm thinking of is go on vacation. These are all bad goals. Now, can they be turned into good goals? Yes, absolutely. They can be turned into good goals. And I'm going to go over it right after this last point. And the last point is one-itis. All right? This is an actual disease. It's for real. It's a psychological disease. A lot of people suffer from it. One-itis is the belief that there's one person on earth for you during your entire life, and that's the person that you should marry. That's the person you should be with. There's one person and one person only, and if I can't be with that person, then my life is over. If I can't be with that person, then nobody will ever love me. Number one, one-itis is real, and it's the belief that there's only one person for you, and if you can't get that one person, your life is over. That's not true. And here's the thing. Some people are going to have to go through a bunch of people to get to the one. All right? Like, you might have to go through 3 failed marriages to find that fourth person. So don't get upset. Don't get PO'd. It's just part of the process. You might have to go through 3 husbands to find that perfect fourth husband. You might have to go through 500 girlfriends to get to Mrs. Right. It's just a fact of life. My advice to you is just try to enjoy the time that with the person you're with. Just try to enjoy that time, And then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But, one of my friends is completely obsessed about this one woman, and I asked him straight up. I said, "Do you know the story of Romeo and Juliet?" And he goes, "I'm not going to commit suicide, Randy." And I'm like, "No, that is completely not the point at all. All right? That's not the point. The point is, I ask a lot of people, who was Romeo in love with first in Romeo and Juliet?" And they go, "Well, Juliet." And it's like, no. If you know the story of Romeo and Juliet and you've done plays about it, like I have, you would very well know, if you're read up on your Shakespeare, that Juliet was not Romeo's one and only true love. In fact, in the first act of Romeo and Juliet, Romeo was in love with a girl named Rosalind. And here's what he was saying about Rosalind in the first act. He's like, "Oh my God, Rosalind's the one for me. There's nobody else who compares to her. I'll never find anybody as good as Rosalind. It's over. My life is over if I can't be with Rosalind. Rosalind is amazing. Rosalind is this. Rosalind is the bee's knees. She's this, she's that. She's the only one. She's the only one I'll ever love. And if I ever love anybody else, it'll be a miracle." And then who comes along the very next day? Romeo's true love, Juliet. So just keep in mind, and I know you're probably saying, "Well, you don't know our love, Randy. You don't know how much I love this girl." I know how much you think you love this girl. But the fact of the matter is that this girl that you're pining over, that you can't live without, that you think is the best, she might just be your Rosalind. So, just keep in mind, we are not going to. There are very few people on the planet who meet somebody at 16 and then they're with that person forever. In fact, it's very hard to find people who are together for 50 or 60 years at all. I mean, if you hear of anybody who's been married more than 20 years, you need to applaud that person because that is quite a feat. All right. So now we're going to get into the good stuff. Now we're going to get into how to get out of the depression spiral. All right. And now, this one, I'm going to sound kind of hypocritical because I don't exercise every day, but I do walk a lot. And the first thing you need to do to get out of the depression spiral is exercise. Now, when I do exercise, I love it because what I do is I walk around the park for an hour, and it's amazing for two things. Number one, I'm doing something healthy for my body. And then number two, when you're exercising at a gym or going for a long walk around the park, you are unreachable. Nobody can reach you, and that is fantastic because it gives you such peace of mind because, you hate bill collectors, you hate the student loan people, you hate all these people calling you. Well, guess what? When you're out there walking around and doing your thing, nobody can reach you. Nobody can hassle you. Nobody can say, "Hey, I need you to do this. Hey, I need you to do that." Leave your leave your phone at home. Bring an MP3 player with you. Listen to some upbeat music, and just chill out and relax and do something good for your body. I go on walks all the time. Sometimes my walks are 15 minutes, sometimes my walks are an hour, but every single time I go out, I feel a lot better when I come home, and I have lots more energy. And then again, two of the bad things that we talked about were asking why questions and asking immediate answers from God. Well, you might be asking yourself, well, what questions do I want to ask? And the answer to that is simply ask how instead of why. And what you want to do is you want to ask how. How can I find the girl of my dreams? How can I lose weight? Uh, and then you could also ask yourself what questions, like what do I need to do to get in shape? How long should I walk every day? How many glasses of water should I drink every day? Um, how do I become more positive? How do I get a better job? How can I become better at my job? How can I become a better editor? How can I be a better friend? When you ask yourself how questions instead of why questions, you become very productive and much more positive and upbeat. And if you keep asking how over and over and over again, not like how, but if you keep asking like, how can I prove myself? How can I be a better person? How can I turn this to my advantage? If you keep asking how long enough, eventually you will come up with some very good and some very actionable answers. Okay. And then the next step on the list, and this is another one with exercise, is if you want to compound the if you want to compound the effect of exercise, then you need to remember to listen to upbeat music. You know, listen to party music, listen to gospel music, listen to music with a good message, listen to music that lifts you up, that makes you want to party, that gets you excited, that gets your blood pumping, that gets your blood going. I'll tell you, when I listen to The Prodigy, I listen to their upbeat songs, and I am flying down the sidewalk on the park. I mean, I can only go for about 40 seconds, but when I'm listening to The Prodigy, I get so much energy, I get such a positive vibe. I picture myself, as a superhero with a little cape on my back, and so listen to upbeat music, all right? And next up, you want the antidote to violent movies. You want the polar opposite of violent movies. Well, then what you need to do is you need to watch comedies and you need to watch stand up. All right? Now, comedies and stand up are designed to do one thing and one thing only, to make you laugh. And you've heard the phrase laughter is the best medicine. Well, if you watch stand up comedies and your favorite comedies, you will laugh, and you will feel good, and it's the antidote to violent movies, because usually, typically, a lot of comedians take a lot of comedians take the bad things that happen to them in life and they put a positive spin on them by making people laugh. So you need to make people laugh, and you need to laugh yourself. So if you want to laugh, if you want a good giggle, if you want a good chuckle, if you want to be in a good positive mood, then watch comedies and stand up. All right. Now, this next one is multi tiered. I've got a lot to say on this last one, so I'm going to start out. But the number one thing that you can do to get yourself out of a funk is have goals. All right? And the goals need to be written down, number one. But there are vague goals and there are specific goals. And what you want to do is you want to make sure your goals are specific. All right. Now remember the goals that I mentioned earlier, like get a better job, exercise more, be happy, stop arguing with my wife. Now here's a few things. Number one, don't be depressed isn't a good goal because there's nothing you can do about it. I mean there are things that you can do about it, but the goal, don't be depressed. Like, how are you going to not be depressed? Are you just gonna, like, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, just snap out of it. No, there's no way of just snapping out of depression. You can't just snap out of it. You need to take action. And you can't take action on the goal, don't be depressed. You can watch stand up, you can watch comedies. Those are two actions that you can take that will take you out of depression. And then another thing is, people say they want to stop fighting and stop arguing. Hey, you know what? Sorry to tell you, that's life. You're going to get into arguments and fights with people. What you want to do is you want to be like a rubber band and you want to be able to snap back immediately. You want to have an argument, last for 2 minutes, and then, hey, you know what? Say you're sorry, forgive that person, and then for the rest of the day, you're happy again. You're not going to be able to not argue and not fight with anybody forever. You're going to get into arguments. You're going to get into fights. It's a fact of life. Even Jesus got angry sometimes. Even Jesus got depressed. Even Jesus got into arguments with people. And you can't do better than Jesus. So the thing is that you've got to be calm, you've got to be centered when you get into arguments and fights. You got to see it from the other person's point of view, and you just got to handle yourself as calmly and as patiently as possible. But and other people have the goal of cutting out toxic people from their life. And if you can do that, hey, good for you, because I think that is damn near impossible. Because typically the toxic people in our life are people that we cannot get rid of. If you're a 9-year-old and the toxic people in your life are your parents, hey, you know what? You're just going to have to suck it up and deal with it until you reach 18, and then you can leave on your own. All right? And then another person a lot of people think is toxic is their boss. Well, guess what? You can either quit your job or you can put up with your boss. And if one of your goals is, keep your job, you can't just quit your job. It's impossible. And then again, toxic people, you can't avoid that checkout lady with the grumbly attitude. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. There's some people, and a lot of the toxic people are people you just simply cannot cut out of your life. It's impossible. So the best thing that you can do for yourself and other people is learn conflict resolution, learn to be more patient, learn to be more peaceful and not insulting and sarcastic, and learn to communicate better, and just do your best during these arguments and fights. Because arguments and fights are inevitable. There's nothing you can do about them. I wish I could say, oh, you're never going to have another fight in your life. But that would be lying, and that would be untruthful, and I'm not going to tell you that. But again, going back to goals, your goals need to be specific. And what are the 3 points of a specific goal? Well, I got them written down right here. Number one, you need to be able to set a start date, you need to be able to set a deadline, and the goals need to be measurable. Now, again, don't be depressed, and getting a better job are good goals. They are good goals, but they're not specific enough. If those were just your goals, just those right there, those are bare, bald goals. You can't work with those. You need to be able to set a start date, you need to be able to set a deadline, and you need to be able to measure it. So if your goal is get a better job, I would say your goal is to apply to one job every day. Now that's actionable and it's measurable. You got a start date, end date. For this day, starting at 8 o'clock, I'm going to get up, and for an hour, I'm going to look for jobs. And at the end of the hour, I'm going to apply for a job. And you can track that. You can measure that. You can say, okay, well, in the past 30 days, I've applied for 16 jobs, so I need to pump it up a little bit. It's measurable. You got a start date, end date, 30 days, starting today, and then you're going to end in 30 days. You're going to apply for a bunch of jobs, and I tell you, if you apply for 30 jobs, you're going to get one of those jobs. All right? If you are a fully functioning human being who doesn't have extreme mental problems, you're going to get a job. All right? So, and then be depressed. Not be depressed by itself is a horrible goal because it's not specific, doesn't tell you what to do, and that brings me to my next thing about goals. Is goals need to be actionable. There needs to be something that you can do. Now, deleting all the sad music off your hard drive, that's an actionable goal, and that's measurable. You can set a start date, end date. And then watching a comedy every day. Say you start at 9 and watch comedies until 12 o'clock. That's an actionable goal. That's measurable. You could say, oh, out of the 30 days, I've watched over like 40 hours of positive stuff. And if you watch enough stand-up, and if you watch enough comedies, and are listening to positive music, you're exercising, you're setting goals that are actionable and specific and doable, you are going to be a powerhouse. And then I have the last one, and this is the last point for today, and it's make sure that your goals are something you can do today. Make sure that you can do it today. Because a lot of goals are, you want to set milestones. Like, for example, you could apply to a new job today. That's something you could do. You could get exercise today. You could go out your house and walk around the block. You could watch a stand-up comedy today. You could watch a romantic comedy today. You can delete all the sad songs off your hard drives today. You could drink 10 glasses of water today. So whatever your goal is, even if it's a long-term goal like go on vacation, if your long-term goal, again, set a start date, set an end date. So, if you want to go on vacation, you want to set a specific date that you want to go. Don't just say I want to go on vacation, because that's a vague, nebulous goal that'll probably be achieved never. So set a date, like on July 7th, I want to go on a cruise for 7 days, and then on July 14th, I'll be back. And then, that is a goal that's actionable, because, you could say, hey, you know what, for the next 3 months, I want to save up $500, so I'm going to save $5 every day for the next 3 months. And then at the end of the 3 months, you will have around $500, well, you'd have $450, but you would have enough to go on that vacation. So again, make sure it's something you can do today. Again, with the vacation thing, you can save $5 today. Make sure your goals are actionable. Make sure it's something you can do. Make sure it's something you can measure. Make sure it's specific. You need to have a start date, an end date, and you need to make sure it's measurable. And make sure your goals are specific. Make sure you have goals, and that you're writing them down. A good goal is to watch some comedies and stand up at least 30 minutes to 2 hours a day. Listen to some upbeat music. Ask how instead of why. And finally, just get out there and exercise. Do something healthy for your body. And if you do all that, I guarantee you'll feel a lot better and you'll get out of this funk that you're in. So my name's Randy Brown for Cameo Man and Vlogging with Mr. Brown, and I will see you later. Oh, no. Gotta catch myself. My name's Randy Brown for Cameo Man 2021 and the Mayor of Magic, and I will see you later, alligator. Alright, bye.